Hello, I'm Belinda Conaway, your Register of Wills for Baltimore City. Welcome to The Will, a show dedicated to informing you, the citizens, on information related to wills and estates. On this week's episode, we are joined by Deputy Lania Sanders and Deputy Gaines Lanzi as we discuss an overview regarding the ins and outs of the Register of Wills office, as well as informing you about some of the interesting things going on at Roe and some of our informative programs and initiatives. On this show, we will also be joined by young leaders from Frederick Douglass High School who will be reading a will of their choice from the rolls of the wills kept on file at our offices or a will of significant interest to them. Stay tuned and find out who that student is and which will they have selected to read. And of course, you're not going to want to miss the Conaway Chronicle that you need to know about things happening right here in your community. I'm Belinda Conaway, your Register of Wills for Baltimore City. Be sure to write your will today and register it for safekeeping with my office. For more information, call 410-752-5131. And remember, where there's a will, there is a way. Welcome back to The Will. I'm your host, Belinda Conaway, your Register of Wills for Baltimore City. And today we are joined by two fantastic Roe employees who will help convey the intricacies of the Roe process, from filing your will with our offices for safekeeping to the process of opening an estate for a loved one who has passed away. To my right is Deputy Lania Sanders. Ms. Sanders is responsible for service to our customers, ensuring that you are assisted in a respectable and timely fashion. Ms. Sanders has been with the Register of Wills office for Baltimore City, serving the public well. Thank you for being here, Ms. Sanders.
Thank you.
And to my left is Deputy Gaines Lanzi, who is our Community Outreach Coordinator and works in our Welcome Center, which is designed to assist those in the community looking to do business with our offices but may not be sure where to go or what paperwork they may need. Mr. Lanzi is part of our Department of Community Engagement, which is tasked with disseminating the information provided by the Register of Wills to the communities of Baltimore City. Thank you for joining us today, Mr. Lanzi.
Thank you.
So today we will discuss an overview of the process of Roe, from the functions of each department to the community engagement projects we have continued offering to the communities of Baltimore since 2015. When we come back from break, we will delve into the many functions of Roe, as well as offer you an opportunity to have a Roe representative come to your community, church, or neighborhood group to explain the many services offered by Roe. Stay tuned. You don't want to miss this important information. I'm Belinda Conaway, your Register of Wills for Baltimore City. Instead of making your usual New Year's resolutions that fall by the wayside in a few weeks, why not do something that will protect your assets that you've worked so hard for? Write your will today. Be sure to visit us on Facebook at Roe Baltimore City or call 410-752-5131. And remember, where there's a will, there's a way. Welcome back to The Will with Belinda Conaway. So let's get started with understanding the process of Roe and the many departments that make up the offices of the Register of Wills for Baltimore City. Ms. Sanders is tasked with servicing customers when a loved one passes and an estate is open. Briefly explain to the viewers the general overview of someone opening an estate.
When coming in to open up an estate at the Register of Wills office, they will start in the office that I work in, which is called Administrative Probate. In the process of that, they do have to have some forms when they do come in. Some of those forms include a death certificate, a funeral bill, and all documentation of all assets that the deceased had in their name alone at time of death that wasn't jointly held or had a beneficiary. Some of those assets are a home, property, bank accounts, stocks, bonds, and policies. They will bring in those documentations to open up the estate, showing that those were in their name alone. They do have a will. The deceased had a will. They will bring in that will also, and that will be the original will that was originally signed by the deceased. Once we look over those documents, then we will see if the estate will be a small estate. As assets are under $50,000, we're looking at a small estate. If the assets of the deceased are over $50,000, we are looking at a regular estate.
Okay, so it's really important that people try to gather as many documents as possible to bring it in so that you know what kind of estate is going to be open.
That is correct. And if the deceased did have a will and they did appoint someone in their will that they do trust to be their personal representative, it is important to talk to that person to talk to them about the documents that they would need upon the passing of that person. It makes it a little easier for the loved one when they do come into our office that they're already familiar with the location of the documents and locating the documents that they need.
We always encourage people to call first. You can call 410-752-5131, and we will try to make sure that you have everything that you'll need when you come to the office so that you can handle the business that you need to handle.
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Landsey, you and your team have been all over the city, from community association meetings to local festivals and expos. We've really worked hard to get the word out, letting people know what the Register of Wills office does, making sure that people have important information.
Well, Ms. Conaway, as you know, your program is very innovative and very creative. You have devised a program that has allowed us to go directly to the people who are going to need our services at some point in their lives. What they want to do is, and what you want them to do, as we know, is to have a one-stop shop, so to speak. In other words, they call first. We provide them with the information that they need in order to process the documents on behalf of their deceased loved one. Because it's of vital importance for people to really be comfortable with it and have a better understanding, any organization, civic, charitable, churches, any organization that is doing the good work on behalf of their community can call, and we'll schedule that meeting to come out and actually discuss what the Register of Wills for Baltimore City is all about. In so doing, it makes them more comfortable so that at that time of need, they're not in shock because they have already been exposed and have an experience as to what it's all going to be about.
What are some of the questions that you get from people?
The biggest concern that a person has is asset protection. As you know, and many people have now found out, assets in the decedent's name alone are those funds, property values that come into the estate. The will is one way of making your determination exactly to whom you want those assets to go.
So what do you look for in the office when someone comes in and says, this is the will for my loved one?
So when we look at the will, we first want to look that it's an original will, that it does have all the original signatures of the deceased, so that it's an original will and not a copy. The second thing we look for is to make sure that the will has been signed by two witnesses that were present at the time when the deceased wrote their will and witnessed their signature, and also can testate to that. So that's what we look for to make sure that those pieces are in there, that the will is the original will, that it is signed by the deceased, and that it has been signed by two witnesses. We also look to see who has been appointed in the will as the personal representative, because if there is a will brought forth to opening the estate, that personal representative will be the person coming in to initiate opening up the estate to take care of the affairs of the deceased.
And having the conversations with the public, one of the things that we want people to understand is how important it is to have someone responsible to handle that will and making sure that your loved ones get exactly what they're supposed to and that all of the rules and regulations are complied with, which is it's a big responsibility, and it's worthwhile to have the conversation to make sure that whoever you designate first is willing to take that responsibility, but also is responsible enough to see it through. So, I mean, that's very important information. We always encourage people to have those conversations with family members because it's always difficult when you lose someone that you love, and you don't want that compounded with not having a will or people fighting over who should get what. So it's makes it a lot easier on families when that information is there and people have had the conversations so that it's a smoother process and it doesn't add to the grief.
And the program that you have been exposing the public to is the Safekeeping Will program, and that is the best way, we feel, for someone to prepare their will, bring it in, executed will, witnessed by two individuals and signed by the testator or testatrix, but bring that original will into our office. We give them an envelope that they can immediately complete that tells all the details. In other words, the Social Security number is going to be on that envelope. We're not going to handle the original will. The person who wants to deposit it actually prepares all the information related to putting it in safekeeping. They pay us $5, and then they let the person that they want to be responsible for the estate know that upon my passing, you just go down to the Register of Wills for Baltimore City, retrieve the will, open the estate, and get my affairs done. The increase in the number of citizens, your constituents who have seen your commercials, have made it a point to get their wills done. There are several programs that are available through some volunteer organizations, and we work in conjunction with them actually when we also go out for community activities, because they go hand in hand, and we have a nice partnership with them.
Well, you hit on something important. A will is a very personal document, and so we want people to know that when they write their will and bring it to the office for safekeeping, it remains in a sealed envelope, and you are the only one who can retrieve that envelope unless you pass. So for safekeeping, it's $5, which is very reasonable. It's less than what most people pay for lunch, but it keeps your will safe because there are instances and times when family members are not happy with what is in the will, and sometimes things happen to the will before the will gets to our office. So we encourage people to bring it in. It's kept confidential. You can bring it in for safekeeping, and it's only $5.
And one final thing about that is it actually says on the receipt the exact location in the vault where the will is kept. And that's a real plus, because oftentimes people are going through personal papers at the deceased's home, or they have to go to a safe deposit box. If their name's not on the safe deposit box, then they're going to have the box drilled for $150. That original $5 sounds like a good deal to me.
Well, it is, and I know that people are concerned. Some people like to think that they'll live forever, but if you live forever, we'll keep it forever for $5. That's the best bargain you're going to get.
You know, I still cannot believe that Prince is gone.
I know, right? And he was so young. He died without a will.
Really? I didn't know that. I think I need to get a will.
I think you're right.
Let's not make the same mistake. Write your will today. Call us, visit us online, or check us out on social media. And remember, where there's a will, there's a way. Welcome to another edition of the Conaway Chronicle. This week, I want to share with you some information that you may not be aware of, and that is free legal assistance. You may be able to get free legal aid when crafting your last will and testament. The service is provided at absolutely no cost. However, you will have to meet certain age and financial requirements. The Maryland Volunteer Lawyer Service is a local nonprofit organization which provides quality pro bono legal assistance in a wide range of civil matters, including will preparation and estate planning, as well as assisting in advanced medical directives, power of attorney matters, estate administration, and guardianship issues. For more information on their services or to apply online, be sure to log on to www.mvlslaw.org. That's www.mvlslaw.org, or call them at 410-547-6537. I'm Belinda Conaway. This has been the Conaway Chronicle. Today we're here with Nasir. He's a sophomore at Frederick Douglass High School, and he has a great will to read to you today.
Record of will, Mr. Frederick Douglass. I, Frederick Douglass of Anacostia, District of Columbia, United States of America, being of sound disposing mind and memory, do make, publish, and declare this to be my last will and testament. First, I give and bequeath to my dear devoted wife, Helen Douglass, my house and 15 acres of situated land in Anacostia, D.C., with all outbuildings thereunto pertaining. Second, I give and bequeath to the said Helen Douglass all my writings, books, papers, pictures, paintings, horses, carriages, and harness, and every and each description of property and about my house in Anacostia, except a certain portrait of myself painted more than 40 years ago by Mr. Heyman of Florence, Massachusetts, which I give to my daughter, Rosetta. Third, I give Helen Douglass $10,000 in registered United States bonds and $10,000. Fourth, I give and bequeath to my daughter Rosetta and all three of my sons, Louis, Frederick, and Charles, the remainder of all property to each of them, all equal shares, which will amount to about $15,000 to each, signed and declared by the Frederick Douglass as his last will and testament, in presence of us as witnesses, in witness whereof I have set my hand and affixed my seal to this 30th day of August in the year 1886. Signed, Frederick Douglass. Witnesses, B.E. Messer and D.L. Pitcher.
Wow, the will was written in 1886. Fascinating.
Yes, it is.
What do you like about it?
And for a former slave, the way he was living isn't bad.
Yeah, it seems like he'd amassed a lot of money and land, which at that time was probably over $1 million in money, not including how much the land was worth. It's a wonderful thing to be able to go back and look at a piece of history,
Right.
Especially about Frederick Douglass. You get to learn a little bit more about him today. And so it just goes to show how important it is to write your will, so that whatever it is that you amass during your lifetime, you can leave it to the people that you love and that you want to have it. This has been our audition. We thank you, Nasir, and wish you well. You're closing out the school year, and next year you're looking forward to being a junior. Thank you so much for joining us today.
I appreciate being here.
I want to thank the students of the Recording Arts, Media and Production program right here at Frederick Douglass High School for producing our show, and thank you for joining us today. Tune in next time, and remember, where there's a will, there's a way.